Drew and KB back with you from the Iron Jock studio inside the Megaplex. Shout out to our pals Rob and Chris from HappyPlaceHemp.com. Now through midnight, use the code GAME40, 40% off. Tomorrow, that's good till midnight. After midnight, you got to go back to using Drew and KB to get 25% off. Game40, the biggest sale ever at HappyPlaceHemp.com, 40% off their products if you use the code GAME40. Special guest on the PellaWI.com talk and text line. We welcome the voice of the Green Bay Packers, our pal Wayne Larrivee. Hey, Wayne.
Guys, I'm here from the U.S. government, and I'm here to help you.
Okay. Well, Wayne is presented by Kowal Investment Group, the retirement specialist in Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. This weird time, this one game in 23 days, this time-space continuum thing, we're about to get back in the rhythm of the Packers playing every Sunday.
Yeah. And for the next, 12 weeks, thank goodness, huh? I don't like the time-space continuum here where you have one game and you dwell on it for like 23 days or whatever it is. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, they may emerge from this with some changes. Who knows? We'll see.
What things might change other than getting injured guys back? You think there might be a shuffle on the offensive line, perhaps?
People keep hinting at that. I don't know for sure and won't know till later this week, but that's what people are talking about. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't think it will, but the possibility of moving people around to that line, that might occur. That could.
This is almost like a situation with when you look at college bowl games where no one sees you for several weeks and you come up with a new wrinkle, that no one expected. Do you anticipate that we might see anything different with
play calling and stuff?
Yeah, with the offense, and that they've had some time to look back and say we have to do some different things?
That's a great analogy, KB, because you're right. I mean, this is a long enough period of time where, they could get into the laboratory and start putting things together, and who knows what the scientists may come up with. But I think we will see some things, some unscouted looks, as they say, as the coaches say, from the Packers coming out of this 3-week period here. So, and hopefully that'll be stuff that'll be good for them. Guys, Zach Cruz, one of the fine Packers beat reporters, works for Packers Wire, had some interesting insight into what's going on with Jordan Love and his completion percentage, which I believe is last in the league of qualified quarterbacks thus far. On 1st and 10, he is 34 of 52, 65.4% passing. But on 2nd and 7 or longer, he's 39%. On 3rd and 7 or longer, 46% passing. On any other down during a game where it's not 2nd or 3rd and long, he's completing 63.6% of his passes. Now, here's the problem, twofold. Number one, some penalties on early downs, like on 1st down, false start, something like that, illegal procedure, whatever, backs them up. Secondly, they're averaging 3.6 yards per rush on 1st downs this season, and that puts you behind the chains.
Well, we had a caller yesterday who said it's time for Sean Clifford. And we were like, what the hell? It's been 6 games, for God's sake.
He should have called it 420.
It's like, it's been 6 games. But seriously, do we give him 2 more games? No. But you have to be, you look at, what Jordan Love has had to deal with, because he was, people compare it to him to Brock Purdy. And it's like, you cannot even do that, because look at who Brock Purdy has got.
Yeah.
Right. And Jordan Love is doing it without his full complement of players.
I'd just like to see him, Wayne, play a full game with Aaron Jones behind him.
Aaron Jones, with a healthy Christian Watson. Watson makes a big difference out there too. So I think a lot of this stuff, we're all speculating. We're all pulling at things that, they're going to change up the offensive line. They're going to do this, that, and the other thing. You know what? Yeah, just get some guys back and go ahead and do the things you were planning on doing back in training camp. And I think that's going to be a big part of it. But I also think they'll throw in a few different things, and they've had enough time to analyze this team one way or the other. And I think they'll come up with a couple of solutions to some of the problems that have been plaguing them. But the very basic thing on Jordan Love is the fact that he's throwing in bad situations to throw in, and that is behind the chains, first and second and long, third and long, and, in some cases, fourth down. So it means they have to throw the ball farther downfield, and that's always a lower completion percentage.
Well, what I noticed in the last couple of games is, and it really is a testament to how, inhuman Aaron Rodgers was with his accuracy, because you would see, and we talk about this all the time, defensive backs are always a fingernail away from swatting the ball away. And so it's just a situation where some of those balls that Jordan Love isn't completing are just simply because they're not as highly accurate as Rodgers. And you're going to look at me and go, well, duh. No, but what I mean, I'm trying to say it's that narrow of a margin between great and, Sean Clifford time for some people.
What happened to Bryce Hundley? And by the way, I've got Scott Tolzien on speed dial, guys.
Right. There you go. Deshaun Kaiser's not doing anything.
Backup syndrome. Yeah, absolutely.
KB, that is such a great point. And I'll tell you a story this summer, and maybe I said it on the program months ago, but we're at training camp, and I'm standing on the sidelines with John Kuhn, of all people. And I said, you know what, John? It just seemed, and there was a pass right in front of us to the sideline, and said, John, it just seems like, the ball takes longer to get here compared to what it used to with Aaron Rodgers. And he looked at me, one of those football snob type smirks, and he says, well, you're talking about one of the greatest of all time. What do you mean? Kind of the smirk that, you just reported on. Yeah. I mean, yeah, really, we're comparing him to Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Yeah, come on. But this kid has a very good arm, a good enough arm to win on this level. And, hey, going through some tough times right now, but I'm anxious to see what they do against this Denver defense.
And I'll see how he bounces back. Wayne, as long as you open the door and start talking about Scott Tolzien and Brett Hundley and some of the great backups of the past, JT O'Sullivan's YouTube channel, the QB School, I availed myself of that, and I'm becoming a fan of his work. He's like Dan Orlovsky, breaking stuff down. And one of the things I learned watching his breakdown of the Raiders game was, first, you're right, a lot of the plays he looked at were 3rd and 11. They have way too many 3rd and 11s because hardly any quarterback's going to be a Hall of Famer on 3rd and 11 every series, right? But the other thing is that receivers away from the ball, even away from the play, if their routes aren't precise, they can screw up the play for a receiver coming from the other side of the field. They bring defenders in, and that's one of the things he was pointing out. And I thought, well, there you go. And that's why Aaron Rodgers would sometimes unbuckle his chin strap in disgust, because things like that were happening that we're not privy to. And that really opened my eyes, Wayne, when I saw that that can happen. If one guy on the a guy who's not in the play runs an imprecise route, the play is torpedoed.
It can be. I mean, it's that precise at this level. And, the other thing we talk about that's been mentioned is the Packers receivers aren't getting open, and that the windows to throw into are much smaller with the Green Bay receivers as they learn to get off of press coverage and that type of thing. Maybe part of it is exactly what JT pointed out in that video to you, in that, you run a wrong route or you're not even in the play, but the fact is you drag closer to where that ball is supposed to go. You put an extra defender in there, and now it's clogged up, and now you got a real problem. So I think there's a lot of that happening. I think that, a lot of it has to do with inexperience, and that I think will get better as time goes along because, hey, let me tell you, if JT O'Sullivan notices it, don't you think the coaches know that?
Oh, absolutely.
Vrabel knows that very well. So they're working on that.
And Wayne, you were watching a little basketball with my Milwaukee Panthers the other day, and that's a phrase you hear all the time on basketball circles is spacing. And that's the same thing. The football field, you wouldn't think they'd run out of space, but there's a lot of big dudes on that field, 22 of them, and the referees, and you got to have spacing.
And you got to have spacing, and they run fast, and they close the holes real quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, Wayne, on the way out, isn't it funny that the stuff that we worry about when you're watching training camp practices, like, I don't know, Anders Carlson and Danny Whalen, like now that's not even a thought anymore. The stuff we thought would be front burner issues, we haven't even thought about it.
Drew. Not find a piece of wood and knock on it. Things can change in a hurry.
It could definitely change in a hurry.
No,
we'll
but
see.
The two kickers have been good, and the net punting average is terrible for Whelan, but only because there was a 76-yard punt return. that wasn't entirely, I didn't think entirely his fault. I mean, so I think both kickers have been very solid, very good.
Fantastic. Wayne, thanks for joining us. We want to encourage everybody to check out the Larrivee and LePay podcast. Who's the guest this week? You got Jim Polzine?
No, we have Todd Rosiak, one of your
TR.
baseball. Yeah.
Fantastic.
One of my faves.
Oh, he's good people.
Yeah,
Hope you talk to him about his shoe collection. He's a sneaker guy.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah,
We didn't get to that, but we got to the Major League Baseball playoffs pretty extensively.
Oh, and that's good stuff. Good stuff going on. Wayne, great catching up with you. Have a great call, and we'll be listening on Sunday.
We'll talk to you next week, guys. Take care.
Thanks,
Get
Wayne.
back to work. All the Packers.